If I hear AI one more time, I can't handle it anymore.
Tell me how you really feel about that. Like, what's going on over there?
I mean, there's one thing with buzzwords, but these two buzz letters, AI, is driving me bonkers.
I feel like we got to talk about this.
I really do feel like we do too. I mean, can we spend like a month on this?
Let's go, baby. All of January, nothing but AI.
Okay, let's do it. Challenge accepted.
Done.
Welcome to the VIP podcast.
Season 3.
Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Vertafore Insurance Podcast. Today, Heath and I have a very special guest. Not someone from outside of Vertafore, but someone who's going to give you a sneak peek under the hood of what's going on with conversions from the inside. And not just anybody, but the guy who runs the whole show. Rick Warter, welcome to the Vertafore Insurance Podcast, the Senior Vice President of Customer Success. We are pumped to have you on, sir.
Big time pumped. Woo. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, so before we get into conversions and all the cool stuff that you're doing, just give me a high level for those of you who are living, for those listening who are living under a rock and don't know who you are, right? Give me a high level on what you do, your role at Vertafore in the company.
So as you said, I'm the SVP of Customer Success. Okay. So at Vertafore, that means I have the team that's responsible for onboarding folks onto Vertafore solutions. I have the team of customer support people that then take care of you day in and day out. And then I have the team of customer success professionals that make sure you get the most out of the products as we continue to do new releases. So that's what we encompass under customer success, getting you on our solutions, supporting you day in, day out, and then continue to make sure you get the most out of that investment.
Okay. I love that we have that. I'm still somewhat new here, and I get excited to hear about these teams because it's not just, all right, you bought Vertafore products, now it's over. There's a whole team that helps you. So if you're not a Vertafore listener or user listening to this right now, that's just cool to know.
Absolutely.
That we have somebody to hold your hand and help you through. Absolutely. In fact, 3 or 4 teams. The whole time. Yep. That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, I wish I had that for all other things that I buy in my life. But anyway, right? It'd be super cool.
Yeah, but if Rick could just, replicate himself.
Yeah.
And we can just, exactly. One day we'll be able to clone Rick.
That's right.
Okay. Also, Rick is an advocate and has a lot of expertise. And listen, if you want to talk to this guy about soccer, U.S. women's soccer, he's the man.
Oh, there you go.
So the next time you see him at a conference, just ask him about it. He knows what's up.
Awesome. Yes. And I can tell you my story about how I met Lindsay Horan and her French Bulldog puppy.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. I love it.
That's awesome. That
is
awesome.
All right. So let's get into conversions. Can you give the audience a 30,000-foot view of, and I think a lot of people are familiar with how difficult conversions can be.
Just put the elephant out there now.
You're right.
Yep.
Address it, right?
This has pretty much been my entire career. So I've been at Vertafore for a couple of years now.
Yep.
But I started my career at Accenture. I worked at Oracle. My entire career has been doing large data conversions. And they're difficult, right? You need to map your information from the last system to this system. You need to test. You need to do that. You need experts to be able to help you do that mapping. Mm-hmm. They're challenging. Right? They're challenging. They've always been challenging. And then we really focus on what can we do to help our customers prepare in advance. How can we then use some of our technology and tools to make this go faster and reduce the effort they've got to do? And then how do we make sure that we've got this support mechanism after they've launched and go live? So it's really what my career has been focused on. And it is something challenging, but we spend a lot of time and focus on how do we work with them from a process perspective to get ready? How do we make sure we've got the technology to make it as fast as possible and as high quality data as possible? And then how do we support them after they go live?
Well, one of the things is a former agency owner, and I've been in a lot of agencies' offices as a consultant. That's one of the scariest things in an agency is switching management systems. Mm-hmm. Yep. And people get scared. Well, you brought up something just now that clicked in my head of, and I'd love for you to share with the audience, what are some steps that you could share with people to take before they go into a conversion to maybe make things a little easier? Because it is hard. Mm. Let's just put that on the table.
Right. It is, and it's because you've been on a system for 10 years, right? And every time you've been on a system, we all have it. Things get duplicated. Someone left, you got someone new. My example is, Travelers gets entered 3 times in there, even though you only really want it once. It just happens over time to every piece of technology. And so part of what you can do is start to look at your current system and what you've got and what that data looks like, where you've got duplicate information, maybe you've got employees in there twice, things of that. You can get ahead of it and start to look at what that book of business you have is, and where there might just be some things that have crept in over the years. So that's the first piece, is kind of do that prep work.
Mm-hmm.
The second piece, and this is where our tools really come in, you have to map that, right? So we built a tool we call Smart Map, and Smart Map helps basically take a first shot at mapping that information from your old system to the new one. Right? Gives you a jump start, makes it easier, has a very intuitive UI to it. So it helps you do that mapping exercise. That's the hardest piece, right? That's what takes your knowledgeable people from the agency. They know your history, they know what you're doing. We've used Smart Map to make that faster and easier for folks. That's one of the longest things in any conversion. And then we go through some testing with them that we really helped perfect and kind of help our agency customers. Here's what you need to look at. Here's what you need to do. So they're not in it for the first time. They're not trying to figure it out. We jumpstart them with, look at these areas after we run your mock conversion.
Yeah. Okay. So hold on. So let's before we dive into Smart Map, because you're giving too much away, Rick.
I know.
You gotta yeah, listen.
I'm so excited.
Podcast 101. You gotta tease it and then let people wait for it. All right. So before we get into Smart Map, let's talk about Mythbusters.
Yes.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite shows on TV, so we can do this here.
Yeah, let's talk Mythbusters. You want to go for the first one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that we hear about is, I have to have all this certain data that's coming over. If I don't have all of it that goes back however many years, do you hear that? Is that a myth that you hear? And how could you bust that one?
And it's not accurate, right? What you really need to do is you need to get the information over, and clean information over, that helps you go and go forward for your operational basis. So much of this information will get filled in as you go through the course of renewals and other pieces. The myth that you got to bring everything over so you have it all there is not true. You'll end up, your new system will be much more useful to you if you bring over the right amount of information, not all the information.
So data hoarding is a real thing, and you're saying not to do that.
Data hoarding is a real thing. System A doesn't work exactly like System B does. It never quite comes over. So you want to spend your time on exactly what information, how many years back do you need to go in history, what information do you need, so you just have a good, clean set of data that you can then go forward with.
What's your suggestion on that? How many years back should they go, in your opinion?
Typically a couple of years, and mainly I say that because policies typically renew every year, so the renewal process will go back. So you've got a couple of years with the history. You don't need to go back much further than that. So that's the thing we really work with folks is. The other thing, a great example, if you go too far back, that carrier could be out of business. And now you've converted data into your brand new system for a carrier that doesn't even exist. That's a great example of data hoarding. So a couple years, enough to get, so you've got a good example of your, the end insured and what their track record is from a policy and coverage perspective, but not so far back, you might be pulling over pieces of data that just aren't even helpful anymore. And the carrier one's like one of the best examples I've heard of. Go back 5 years and some carriers just won't be there.
Especially nowadays. But, okay, let me ask you this. I may throw a curveball. Can you keep personal data further back and then policy data?
Yes, and that's some of the stuff we track with, like how much of that personal data can go back, how much of the contacts. We've got customers that will want to convert people that they want to consider prospects that aren't active customers. We do that as well. So
perfect.
There's a lot of the difference between the kind of the policy and what you need to convert versus the clients you need to convert, and how far, and whether you want to bring over prospects because you want to continue to be able to go back and try and get those people back in your book.
Right.
That's also where a CRM tool can come in. But.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is we're not saying with this don't have the data, right? Because if you ask for a backup of your old system,
bingo,
you're always going to have that data.
Sure.
We're just talking about what you need in your current system to function helpfully.
So all the data hoarders, listen, you can still keep it. You just don't have to give it for the conversion.
Put it in a storage unit. Don't put it in your house.
Right. Clean out your Outlook inbox every once in a while.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, what's the next Mythbuster
2
for you?
Okay, Mythbuster 2 is my data comes over cleaner into the new system, right? I think a lot of people will look at the data that's in their new system and start pulling reports or whatever they might do and say, well, wait a second, there's stuff missing, or there's stuff that's not accurate, or whatever it might be. What's the issue here?
And I think that's the difficulty. That's usually the data hoarders and converting too much. That's the system A doesn't look like system B.
Yeah.
You bring over too much, trying to get everything to tick and tie, the data models just don't line up. And so that's the part, like really focus on those core, focus on your clients, focus on the policies, focus on the key piece of information you need to go forward. And that's what you want to make sure you tie out. If you try and bring too much, the new system never quite worked like the old system. And you get to 98% and you drive yourself crazy trying to find that last 2. And it's just not so that's the part of like try and focus in things like, there are things you need to match 100%. There's other things you don't, and figure out what those items really are. You want all your clients over, right? You need to make sure you got all your clients. Right. You make sure they got all the policies. Some other stuff's not that important to have those details.
Right.
Yeah, I think another one that I've heard and that I've even been through myself is that thought process of it's going to take several years, and the change manager is just too great for me to go through this. Obviously, your team deals with that a lot.
We do, and I have some great examples just in this last year of a couple of big conversions we did for some larger customers where not only did the conversions go well because they did that prep work and they did good data cleanliness, mid-year, going through that system change, every single person in those agencies hit their bonus numbers. They actually exceeded their bonus targets, which is hard to do when you have disruption, right? But yeah, across the board, for large customers, they were able to take advantage of the new system, all things it brought, to actually exceeded their business results they were shooting for.
That's really cool. And I could also imagine on that same vein of it creating some excitement. Hey, we're upgrading.
They were upgrading. They were getting new technology.
Yeah.
They were afraid of what it was going to take, and they ramped up much faster than they thought they were going to the point they actually exceeded their business goals.
Wow. And I would say, to agency owners listening to this, just advice from Uncle Heath over here is that's a way of showing your people that you're investing into the agency. You're investing into their future. You're investing into their success.
Right.
Just a little Uncle Heath advice.
I like Uncle Heath. That's a new one.
There you go.
That's a good one. I love it. All right, so let's move on to the smart mapping tool. I'm really excited.
He's already dropped it on us.
I know. We're gonna dig in though. We're picking up the shovel.
Yes, let's do it.
So, smart map tool. Just to give some compare and contrast with the smart map tool. Currently, with many conversions, what happens is, agency says, okay, here's my old system A, I got to get to system B. So I'm going to hand over a CSV or Excel spreadsheet with a lot of tabs, policy data, customer data, limits, vehicle, whatever it is, right? And then we take that CSV, or a lot of agencies, tech vendors will take that CSV and then upload it into System B. And the problem with this is while the conversion happens and we get the data into the new system, it's time intensive, resource intensive, labor intensive for the agency, right? And so, as technology vendors do, we decided to come up with a smarter way to do things, which is Smart Map. So tell me how this solves the CSV problem. How does this make conversions faster?
So we used to use CSVs, used to call it crosswalk, and you did just that. You had all your values, your old system, you loaded them into Excel, and then somebody who had been there for a long time, one of your most valuable employees, had to sit there and then basically enter in every single cell in Excel to the new target. What Smart Map does, and the reason we built it was that's time consuming, and it has to be your most experienced people to do it. So we built a tool called Smart Map, which takes the first shot at that, which brings it into a very intuitive user interface that helps jumpstart you and then gives you that before and after picture and lets you draw the linkages together. So it makes it much easier, get you a great jumpstart on it, and then you can still pick and choose, but it makes it much faster to do that. You don't have to just start filling in cells on the right-hand side of the equation. It gives you a starting point.
Right. So really, somebody would send the data to your team in a hard drive format or digitally, on a Dropbox-like environment that was way more secure than Dropbox. I'm not recommending Dropbox to any of our tech team that's listening. And then essentially you guys would do all the work to upload it to Smart Map, and really the agency is just logging into this nice platform. They're just saying, okay, I see my data, here's where I want it to go, boom, 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 and then send it, and then you guys send it off, essentially.
Correct. Yep. We load that in. We give them we call it a preview. So we give them a preview. We hand over the smart mapping tool and say, it's already pre-lined for you. You just go verify that's correct.
That's so cool.
Oh my gosh.
So it really automates the conversions process.
It's incredible. And it's got to save a ton of time.
It does. It saves a ton of time, again, from these very valuable people in your agency, because you need the most experienced people to do this task.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we built it, right? We knew it was time consuming. How do we help jumpstart that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's crazy because in a world where, I bought a new iPhone the other day and literally had the two iPhones sitting next to each other, and within, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours, the data just moved right over, and it was like all the files, my passwords. I turned my new iPhone on and it was like, boom, done. Right. I feel like this smart map tool in a way it's kind of like that process, right?
Yeah,
I'm not taking like phone numbers, writing them down on an Excel and then putting them into my new phone. I'm just saying, okay, new phone, old phone, send it to the new phone, and there it is. Right. Like,
yes.
That's how it should be.
That writing down your old number and then putting in the new phone. That's exactly what it used to be like. This is a good jump start. Yeah. And then we're starting to think about what's next. Yeah. So we've worked with some partners. We'll use the term AI. There's lots of AI out there. We're looking at how do we get ahead of it? How do we jumpstart this and even shorten that time down? So all you need to do, it'll give you an even faster starting point to be able to go in there, and you just have to click and verify.
He just dropped AI.
Yes.
He just dropped the 2 letters AI that everybody's perking up now.
What does AI stand for again?
Artificial intelligence.
Yay. There it is. I like
Everybody's leaning on the edge of their seat now. They're excited. So we're talking AI now to help with conversions.
That's what we want to do. Where we want to get to is like you give us your file, we load it up, it comes in there, it does a first shot at it, and you just verify, right? So it'll take something you take 2 weeks down to a day at max, just you go through and verify it looks correct. So we're really trying to compress the time down so it takes less time of your most important employees.
Yeah. Well, and it's probably going to be, I want to say it's going to be more accurate, but I should probably bite my tongue on that one till we, see it kind of in action. But I would think any human error around, I think this because data is just language, right? Yeah. So what we're doing when we're matching is we're assuming like, all right, policy in this system means, policy 2 in that field, in that system, right? This is a terrible example. I don't know why I came up with this one, but
I was letting you go with it.
Yeah, just let me run with it. But with the AI, essentially, it should be able to kind of know like what's in each system and sort of how to match those languages together.
That's exactly what it does. So we've got pilots going out there. It's exactly what it does. It does the match. It says, hey, I match these. You just need to verify they're correct. Wow. So it takes short cuts everything even more so.
That's fantastic. Okay, so then I know right now SmartMap is available on a limited basis. Do you guys also have plans to expand SmartMap to?
We do. So we're looking at what's next right now. So we've got a couple products out there. We've got the ability to use SmartMap to merge our own products together because we get that request frequently through just the acquisitions that are going on, and then we're laying out the roadmap of what's next. What's the next product we're going to add to SmartMap?
Gotcha.
So SmartMap is our go-forward platform, and we're going to continue to add more to it.
Awesome. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about your strategy around conversions for consolidation reasons. A little bit of a different environment, I think, than system-to-system conversion.
So what we're seeing quite a bit, there's a lot of consolidation going on out in the agency space. So there's 2 flavors of that. There's often we get requests to consolidate a couple of Vertafore products together, right? You're trying to get to so what we'll work with the agencies on is like, which one is your go forward? What's your kind of gold, what I call your gold image? What's your gold image? And we work using those SmartMap tools to kind of fold those in so that they get one spot for their data, one holistic solution, and it helps them with more of a consistent set of operational approaches. So the other benefit that we're seeing a lot of people wanting to not standardize too strong of a word, they just want consistency. And so by getting onto one platform, it helps them be more consistent and it helps them get better, cleaner data they get faster access to.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah. Are there plans to create more self-service tools as well? So that
we already have one out there right now. We have a
okay.
self-service tool that lets people. It really depends on the line of businesses that you're acquiring from. So it's a self-service tool that allows you to import data, clients and policy headers, and then relies heavily on downloads, kind of populate the rest of the data. And that's something we've been able to do in a matter of, we've gotten the conversions down for some of our more experienced agencies down into the days. They're able to do it within days. Yeah, so it's something they can do very quickly. It depends a lot on the size and nature of that book of business, but the larger agencies that have been at this for a while are able to use this tool built on SmartMap, which we call data import, to be able to ingest that data very quickly into an existing AMS 360 instance.
Gotcha. Okay. Out of curiosity, how many conversions do you do on a yearly basis?
Oh, there you go.
We do about 500 a year.
500 conversions. Holy
I wouldn't have
smokes.
guessed that many.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because we were getting very good at doing them. We're getting very good at helping our clients work through them. And so it's something that not to be afraid of. It's something that's become easier and easier as we go. We're getting extremely proficient at it. It's not uncommon for us to run 15 in a given weekend without it.
Jeez. Yeah, that's a well-oiled machine. Okay, so real quick before we wrap, I remember talking to an agency, this was like a year or so ago, and essentially they said, Sid, I would love to, move over to a different system, but I am so scared of the change that's going to take place. He said I think the most striking analogy that I've ever heard for a conversion was, he said, it's kind of like going through a divorce, right? And I was like, okay, that sounds terrible. Right? And he said, here's the thing. I need the confidence to know I have a support system around me when I go through this. That's why he used that analogy. And so part of the conversion is what we've talked about, right? Making sure things are efficient, making sure that, we're not taking too much time away from people's daily jobs and their ability to build relationships or service customers. But part of it too is the process, the people, the team that we have at Vertafore that kind of comes around that agency during this transition. So could you talk to me a little bit about what that looks like?
Yes. And I said, I like your analogy of where we're going is we're trying to make this, an iPhone upgrade, right? It's like people aren't scared of those anymore. It used to be something like, I don't want to get a new phone. I got all the work. I got to download all my apps. So that is what we're shooting for.
Yep.
So we wrap it around with people that are, like I said, we do 500 a year now. I've got a team of over 100 people. This is what they do.
Yeah.
So they're able to come in and help you really understand this isn't what you thought it was. It's much more straightforward. We'll be here to help you get prepared. We'll be here to help you in the middle of the process. And then even more importantly, we'll be here after you go live to make sure it's smooth. Right. So that's the part too, that week or two after you've gone in the new system is a critical time to make sure you're getting, you're able to settle in comfortably and people are understanding it and you go through, because it's change, and change is hard. Even if you're going from the iPhone 13 to a 15, it's still a little different. And so I think that's the goal. Like, we're trying to get it to be that seamless, and we're getting people to not be afraid of it.
Yeah. And be excited, right? I mean, the transition when I got my new iPhone, I was excited. It was a good change.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how we should be thinking about it.
Yes.
Yeah, when you think about that, again, change management is a whole other podcast, but just going through that, and some people are listening right now that maybe have never been through a conversion. Is there any high level you could walk through? High level, what does that process look like? Can you do that at all? I know each process can be a little different depending on the systems and whatnot, but just at least high level, what's that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, what the process is, we come in. First of all, we want to understand where you're coming from, what system you're coming from, and then really kind of dig into that book of business, so we understand it, so we can help guide you. Are you focused on personal lines, or are you more commercial lines? Like, what's the nature of each agency? They're all a little different. That'll help us kind of craft an approach for them. They walk through, they'll use this SmartMap tool to do the mapping. We run what we call a preview, which gives them a test run into an environment. They can look at it, they can get comfortable with it, they can see it. And so once we verify that the mapping is correct, we look at it, then we work with your people on how do we go through the process of, adults learn differently than children do. So taking this approach to really focusing on what do you need to do your job as opposed to trying to teach you a set of screens. So it's really the part of like, how do we make sure you're ready
smart.
to go? Yeah, we make sure like, here's how you do a renewal. Here's how you're going to set up a new policy. So more focus about how do you get the business outcome and focus it on that way. And then it's a lot to ingest. So then you need to be able to go in after you go live and make sure that's where the success organization comes in. How's it going? Is it soaking in? Is there something that your people are not as comfortable with? And we kind of come back around with another set of folks to make sure they're getting that support and they're getting the most value out of it.
Yeah.
So I like that the training for a account manager may be completely different for new business than it would be for account manager for renewals, or for someone that does certificates and endorsements may be different from a producer. So you're really tailoring that for positions within the agency. That's really neat.
Yeah, you used to just teach everybody everything, and now it's like, wait, that makes sense. Like
We're teach people how to.
You understand the different roles. You curtail that training to those specific roles, and then you focus on what they need to know.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that you get to know the agency first as well. So those that think, they don't know my agency, they're just some, people coming from ivory tower to figure it out. No, like you sit down with the people and understand what their agency looks like, how they operate. I like that a lot. That's really cool. For those that are listening, I was trying to put the hat on so I could talk for you and ask Rick these questions. So I appreciate you breaking that down a little bit. That helps me as well.
Wonderful. Rick, thank you so much for taking the time. For those of you who are on the edge, considering, debating, wanting to switch systems, come to Vertafore. Just saying, we are the Cool Kids Club. And
orange looks good on you. Don't worry about it.
Orange looks great. Yeah. And that conversion is what's holding you back, right? That's kind of in the back of your mind. I really want to switch, but I don't know. Rest assured, we got you covered. Rick and his team do an amazing job and are only going to continue moving that ball forward. So reach out, talk to us. Let's figure it out. Let's make the move for you. Let's get you onto an amazing system that can, honestly, jet fuel you into the future. Rick, with that, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
sir.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great episode.
Amazing. It was an amazing episode.
I really enjoyed that content. Guys, if you enjoyed that content and you want more of it, make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Nah, dude. You got to tell them to crush it. Crush that subscribe button, guys.
All right. Whether you want to crush it, smash it, hit it.
Bop it?
Sure, we could bop it. Either way, guys, we don't want you to miss another episode. We enjoy spending time with you, the VIP.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.